I think what we have is a economic system which, for the first time in my life, is not only experiencing yet another one of its periodic downturns, which, to be fair, we can emerge from. I don't see it right now, which is already a sign. I don't see how that's going to happen. But I also know, it's a kind of a gut feeling, I wouldn't want to claim more for it than that this is a level of interrelated problems, domestic, foreign, manufacturing, services, urban, rural, across the board of dysfunction, tension, trouble, so that for the first time in my life, I think it's possible that this system is done. And let me say a word about that. Every economic system before capitalism, and we've had quite a few, was born, evolved over time, and died, passed away. Once upon a time, most of the world was organized as a slave economy. Slave economy characterized by some people who do the work called slaves, and some people who reap the benefit called masters, master, slave. Thousands of years in various parts of the world. It's mostly gone now. It was born, it evolved over time, it died. Feudalism, okay? Different system. Not master-slave, lord and serf. Exists in Europe from roughly 500 to 1500 AD, 1,000 years of feudalism. Different kind of system, born, evolved, died. It's replaced by capitalism, which is born, evolved, and then will die. The burden is not on me to say that it will die. The burden is on anyone to think that it wouldn't, when every other one has. But the notion that capitalism is here forever, that it is the greatest system since sliced bread, a point of view, by the way, shared by everybody in feudalism for 1,000 years, and before that by everybody in slavery, this is a self-delusional idea because of the fear of change, the fear of the unknown, the fear of wondering what comes next if the system we've become used to were to fall apart. But since every other system did, it's only the height of rationality to begin to think, especially when you're at a time of great difficulty, which we are, to think about, is this maybe the end? And if it is, where do we go? What do we do? How do we manage this situation? Once you open that door, which, by the way, is kept very closed in this country, for example, the presidential race between Trump and Clinton, not one word was ever uttered by either candidate to raise even the question that the capitalist system that we are living in might be coming to an end, might be in a terminal illness, might be in a critical stage where its very No. The presumption that everything is capitalist, that the relationship of employer to employee is somehow permanent in a way that master-slave wasn't, lord-serf wasn't, employer-employee, guess what? It doesn't have to be that way. In fact, throughout the history of the human race, people have had other ways of organizing it. And then, as this percolates through people's mind, it becomes possible to recognize what the alternatives are, and then that sort of aha moment when you begin to realize that those alternatives, they're already here. People are already finding ways to protect themselves as individuals from going down with the capitalist ship. And the minute you recognize that possibility, you see it all around. It's a little bit like people who have the flu. And they say, oh my goodness, I have the flu. And then they start talking to their friends and they find out half their friends have the flu. Somehow, when it hits you, you become aware that it isn't just you, that there are loads of folks who share this. And that's happening now across this planet as people begin to realize what are the alternatives to capitalism? How could we otherwise organize? And might some of these alternatives be much better than the capitalism? Might we get to the point of looking on the passing of capitalism not as a horrible collapse to worry about, but as an opening, as a possibility, as a liberation to welcome, as happened with the transition from slavery to feudalism, from feudalism to capitalism. I mean, I like to tell my students, if you study the transition from feudalism to capitalism, you discover that the artistic icons of Western culture are all about that. Let me give you an example. The music of Beethoven, which we celebrate, is the celebration by a German artist of the end of feudalism and the arrival, in this case, of the French Revolution, which he was celebrating. The whole notion, if you listen to the Ninth Symphony, is supposedly his greatest, the Ode to Joy, the choral part of the last part of the symphony, is a celebration of the rights of man, of the slogans of the French Revolution, which he welcomed. You know, the Renaissance is the beginning of the end of feudalism. It's the celebration of the rediscovery of what existed before feudalism, ancient Rome and so on, in a new form, a renaissance in French, the rebirth of a society that wouldn't be feudal anymore. It's on and on and on. So we have to understand that the transition from one system to another not only can be, but typically has been viewed as a liberational, progressive moment in human history. The French Revolution, the American Revolution, the British Revolution, those are now retrospectively seen as the opening of capitalism, the wonderful thing. My guess is we are on the verge of a transition that will also, in its time, be understood as a breakthrough to something new, difficult as all such breakthroughs are.